In order for us to talk about what the world looks like today, I want to take you back 100 years. I want to take you back to the year 1918. 1918 was a devastating year. We had World War I coming to the end. 16 million lives lost. We had the pandemic flu that infected 500 million people, nearly a quarter of the world's population, and killed 50 million, equivalent to half of the US population. World literacy rate was only 23%, and only 6% of Americans had graduated high school. But times were a-changing. The US Congress, it took 5 days to get from London to New York, 3.5 months to get to the other side of the planet, all right? A journey many of you made in less than 12 hours. The US Congress established daylight savings time and time zones for the first time. We had airmail, Washington, Philadelphia, New York, once a day. The US population crested 103 million and a world population of 1.9 billion. What was the major innovation in 1918? It was Lincoln Logs. Another major innovation, the fortune cookie. These were the paces of change. There was a technical development. It was the first flip-flop circuit that consisted of 2 vacuum tubes. The average wage was 22 cents. And a loaf of bread, well, that was about 7 cents. You could buy a car, it cost you $400, but the maximum speed limit was 10 miles an hour. Check this out, $5,000 for a home here in LA. Things have changed since then. Only 8% of homes had a phone. And check this out, $11 to make a call from Denver to New York, right? A couple of days of labor. And things have changed a lot. So let's take a look now at the last 12 months. I'm going to look at 8 trends. And after each of these trends, after you wrote a few things down, I want to stop and ask you, what does it mean to you? Okay, guys, ready? Let's dive in. The first is communications abundance. We're living in a time where there will be no person ever again disconnected. No person who doesn't have access to the world's information. No person who doesn't have access to the best education and healthcare on the planet. Last year, we saw Facebook and Microsoft wire the entire globe. Look at this, a cable delivering 71 million high-definition videos simultaneously across the globe. The 5G network that we had Matt Grob, the CTO of Qualcomm, up here last year talking about, has gotten thumbs up from all the regulatory bodies across the world. Deployment starts next year. We're talking about 5G, which is 10 to 100 gigabit speeds. Imagine downloading a movie in less than a fraction of a second. We saw Google Loon take flight over hurricane-stricken Puerto Rico, delivering telephony to those in need. We heard also last year about OneWeb, right? This is the partnership between Richard Branson and Paul Jacobs and Greg Weiler. They've gotten $2 billion of funding from Masa at SoftBank. They've signed their launch contracts with Blue Origin. They're manufacturing satellites. They're about to launch a 720 satellite constellation providing gigabit speeds around the globe. Oh boy, but it doesn't stop there. Boeing is manufacturing 7 10 terabit satellites that will be launched this year and next year. And it doesn't even slow down, because SpaceX announced a 4,425 satellite constellation starting in 2019. And let's layer on top of that, just because they can, another 7,000 satellites in an even lower orbit. So if you've been with me, you've seen this, right? In 2017, last year, 3.8 billion people, half the world connected. In the next 5-6 years, we're connecting the rest of the globe. And they're coming online, not like you and I did at 9600 baud on AOL. They're coming online with gigabit connection speeds everywhere, all the time. So the question is, what does that mean for you? Let's get the lights up. What are the implications for you? Let's get one person. Who wants to just scare you, frighten you? Who wants to, we have microphones up here. Who wants to bring a point up about communications abundance? All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Wow, this is so exciting. You know, Peter, I've been watching this for now 6 years because I love the first Singularity University. We just had and you talked about the deceptiveness to disruption, and I just like, oh my gosh, I just signed a contract. What an idiot. Because I don't need to sign long-term contracts on fiber. You know, there's like a lot of things that you keep doing out of habit. And it's like, no, I got to stop doing things that just don't make any sense anymore. And this, it's still difficult for me, even though I've been watching you for 6 years. And I've got to stop saying, look, those ideas are outdated. Out, out, out! You got to kick them out. Because it's serious, because, you know, it's such an easy tendency to keep thinking the way that I was thinking, because I'm doing pretty good.
Jeff, thank you. I think the point here, and I want to hit this hard, is that these changes are happening and accelerating, and it's so easy to forget that the entire communications infrastructure, so if you're a business that's laying down cable or fiber optic, and all of a sudden 5G and satellites coming along, you've got very different competition coming. If you're a business that is focused on Europe or US, but all of a sudden 3.8 billion people who need banking and healthcare and insurance have never had that before, they're all going to need it, right? So imagine doubling your entire consumer base in the next 5 years. And by the way, they're not going to want to buy your service from a representative, a meat body. They're going to want everything digitally. They're going to want it instantly, digitally, very quickly. So, and you say, but you know, our marketplace is the United States, or our marketplace is Canada. It's not Africa, or it's not Asia, where these 3.8 billion people are coming online. But guess what? When the thousands of startups servicing these 3.8 billion people get it demonetized and digitized and dematerialized and offering it overseas, they're going to bring it back here for free. And they're going to compete directly with you. All right, let's go into our second topic. It's cryptocurrencies, an abundance of capital. So, in 2017, we saw a 5,000% increase in the cryptocurrency marketplace, hitting $800 billion, on its way to $1 trillion in 2018. We saw Bitcoin go from just under $1,000, and I put this slide out last week, to $13,000, about a 15x in 1 year. But that was only part of the story. The big winner last year, but before I go that, one of the things we did at the Abundance Digital community, we said about December when Bitcoin hit 19,000, we said, where's it going to be on January 21st? It's hard to predict where Bitcoin's going. So in mid-December, we asked our community, where's it going to be? The low guess was $1. The high guess was $56,000. And the average was 27. The price today, 12,500. And so the winners to our Abundance Digital community, congratulations. Emery Parks at 15,000. And then Santiago and Randall, who both guessed at 10,000. So thank you guys for your guesses. But the big winner in 2017 was Ethereum. No question. Check this out. Starting at $10 and hitting a peak of nearly $1,400, right? 130x, 13,000%. And we're going to be having with us tomorrow afternoon Joseph Lubin, who's one of the founders of Ethereum, owns a significant chunk of Ethereum, talking about why he built it, where it's going, and hopefully giving you a chance to understand this. Coinbase. Oh my God, Coinbase. You know, that system was the most downloaded app in December and November. Okay, honesty here. Who downloaded Coinbase in the last 3 months? Can raise hands? So 13 million accounts, more than Charles Schwab. Probably one of the most amazing stories, and I talk about this, right? That there's access to more capital than any time ever in human history, that there's an abundance of capital. So in 2017, we saw $3.8 billion in initial coin offerings in about 235 deals. So we're going to be talking on Monday, what the hell is an ICO anyway? And how do I get me some of that, right? So check this out. Here's just one example. We've got Telegram, which is an app for communications, and most of the cryptocurrency world is having conversations on Telegram. They're in the midst of an ICO. They plan to raise $1.2 billion without selling any equity. They're selling tokens. And you'll find out, what is a token? What are they tokenizing? And I want to show you a visual representation of what's gone on in the last 2 years. So this is a graphic of ICOs, of token generation events in 2016 and 2017. And you can see as the time goes on, the amount of capital, and this is Ethereum or Bitcoin or ultimately real dollars going to these companies, right? $6.4 billion in 2016 and 2017. This is not something you can afford to ignore. We're going to be bringing on stage later today the president of the largest security ICO ever. They raised $100 million in a few minutes. One of the other things that's happening in 2018, in 2017 and now into 2018, is that institutions are beginning to invest. We're seeing Goldman Sachs coming on. And check this out. This is Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, who in September says, you know, it's just not a real thing. And eventually it's going to be closed, and if you're stupid enough to buy it, you're going to pay the price for it one day. And then 2 weeks ago, the blockchain is real. You can have crypto dollars and yen and stuff. ICOs, you just got to look at every one individually. And you do. And you do. We're going to see companies like UPS making huge bets in blockchain. And then something that's going to change the world. Here's the country of Estonia becoming a digital nation and allowing for digital citizenship. Imagine being able to become a digital member of another nation. So far, 4,000 companies have registered. 27,000 people have applied. I want to show you a short video because the question is, where are you going to domicile your next company? Check this out. Sound, please.
While some countries push people away, Estonia pulls them in. What kind of problems can e-residency solve for an entrepreneur? Say you're a freelance writer in Ukraine and you need to receive international payments. E-residency enables it. Or maybe you run a startup in India and need access to cross-border capital to help scale internationally. E-residency allows it. What if you're a digital nomad or expat and want to run your company after you move to a different country? E-residency is the answer. You might be outside the EU, but want a trusted company registered inside the world's largest single market. E-residency can make it happen. Or if you're already an EU citizen, but you want to lower the cost and hassle of administrating your company, e-residency makes that possible. Maybe you have multiple board members all over the world. E-residency means board decisions and contracts can be legally approved online instantly. Whatever your nationality, Whatever your situation, applying for e-residency is the best way to run a global EU company fully online with minimal cost and hassle. Apply for e-residency today and join our new digital nation. e-resident.gov.ee.
An incredible way for a small nation to transform itself and attract people from around the planet. Pretty awesome, huh? But check this out. You guys have heard me talking crap about Kodak for ages, right? I'm like, they invent digital cameras, they've got, the lead, they're the major, imagery company, and then when they invent a digital camera, they don't take advantage of it, and then they go bankrupt, and then here comes Instagram, acquired for $1 billion with 13 employees, and I say, that's the Kodak moment because it's a linear thinking company being disrupted by exponential technologies. But check this out. On January 9th, I'm at CES, and I hear Kodak make an announcement. Kodak has announced the Kodak coin, their own digital currency. They've created a cryptocurrency for Kodak. And it's really an amazing idea. It's a cryptocurrency to allow for people to do digital rights management so that I can know if my photo is being used, and I get a few micro, Kodak coins in payment for it. So it's announced at noon, and we see their price literally triple inside of the first 6 hours. And you say, oh, it's just a fad. But guess what? It stayed, and it's still there. And Kodak went from a $129 million valuation to a $425 million valuation as of today. Right? Talk about the new Kodak moment in terms of skipping a generation of technology. So kudos to Kodak, and if you're watching, I'd love to bring you in and interview you for one of our webinars coming up. Pretty amazing. We've got SoftBank announcing their plans to deploy nearly $1 trillion of private company, of money from Masa-san, of money from the sovereign wealth funds. Money is not scarce. And why is Masa-san doing this? I love this quote by him. He says, I totally believe the singularity is coming in the next 30 years. That's why I'm in a hurry to aggregate the cash and to invest. And he's investing in AI and robotics, communication, and all the digital stuff we're talking about to accelerate it as fast as possible. All right, one question from the audience here. Who wants to make a point? Does it concern you? Does it excite you? Who wants to just raise your hand? Please. Thank you.
Sidi Wadrago,
Hey, Sidi.
originally from West Africa. I've seen the impact of cryptocurrency for the past 7 months, and personally, because I'm investing in a lot of cryptocurrencies, and I've seen the rise they've taken. So what's happening in Africa, nation states are looking at cryptocurrency to launch their own ICOs. So that's where we're going right now in Africa.
Amazing. And so it changes the game.
Yes.
of if I believe in West Africa, I can buy your cryptocurrency, and because as I think it right now, China's making these amazing moves in the world right now. Mm-hmm. Very soon thereafter is India. It's got the technological prowess and a very young population, and then Africa is next. Yeah. Africa, with the resources, with the ability to help feed the world, is a rising giant on the planet.
Rising giant, basically, because we have reserves in terms of resources.
I believe that, my friend. And so the idea of a cryptocurrency to enable me as an investor to invest in that. And so thank you very much for those comments. We're living in a time where how we think about capital, how we use capital, what we tokenize is going to be changing. And so this is very much going from the deceptive to disruptive. We'll talk a lot about this tomorrow. All right, let's go into energy abundance. So we're going to be hearing from one of the most amazing speakers, one of the most amazing thought leaders, Ramez Naam, on tomorrow afternoon on energy. And I'm going to be borrowing a few of his slides. 2017 set a record for solar. I want you to make note of this price here for coal at 5 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour, because it's the stake in the coffin of coal and natural gas and petroleum. We saw this past year Mexico generating solar at 2.7 cents, and Abu Dhabi at 2.4 cents. We've seen floating solar farms being deployed in China. And off the coast of Scotland, floating wind farms. This is a wind farm of just 5 turbines that's going to be deploying electricity for 20,000 homes. Their plans are to go to 50 to 100 of these. Every coastline is becoming energy generation for your nation. We're seeing record after record being broken. Last year in Britain, on one particular day, the price of electricity went negative. Costa Rica had 300 days in a row of 100% renewable energy. And in Germany, one of the cloudiest places in the world, 85% in one day, 33% for the entire year. What's the impact of that? Check this out. India cancels 14 gigawatts of proposed coal plants. And in China cancels 103 coal plant projects. This is just the beginning, because we're not slowing down. The rate at which we're creating innovation is accelerating, right? We are on stage here 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, with the head of material sciences from Deloitte. Again, thank you, Deloitte, for the sponsorship. And he was telling us about perovskite, this material that was very cheap for converting sun to electricity. But it was not efficient, but it was increasing. Guess what? New record, 22.1%. Out of Japan, out of Kobe University, a technology it's able to use much broader wavelengths, including the longer wavelengths, to get as high as 50%. Again, just still in the labs. And then out of MIT, a new innovation called hot solar cells that takes the sunlight, converts it to heat, and then re-radiates it at a spectrum that can be converted twice as efficiently. And those solar converters, those solar cells are going to become rooftops on every one of our homes. This is, by the way, Tesla's roof shingles that are now in production. And because they're so durable, they're coming out with an infinite warranty. I think that's pretty cool. Instead, if you have a high-rise, you can put these solar windows in. And in a 50-story building, you'll get literally 50 times as much energy as you will from just putting rooftop solar. Of course, we need storage. The Gigafactory is now in production in Reno, Nevada, and has produced more than any other place on the planet. Next year, 35 gigawatts. But that's only the beginning of the story, because today there are 10 additional gigafactories already started. And here's the point I want you to remember. 100 of these gigafactories gives us total global battery production needs, right? We're 1/10 of the way to having all the battery we need. Every major car company is putting major investments in batteries. Why? Because, check this out, $1 billion. Every model will be electric by 2020. GM, 20 models by 2023. Ford, 11 billion, 16 models by 2022. And VW, $30 billion commitment to produce 1 million cars a year by 2025 and move the needle. So why are they doing this? Well, people want it, and so do countries. Norway, Netherlands, Germany, India, UK, France, nation after nation saying, no more petroleum, no more diesel. We're shutting it down. Guys, the nails are in the coffin. So, we'll be talking a lot more about this, and if you're in the petroleum and gas business, turn up the lights. Who wants to make a point? Who gets excited about this? Who's concerned about this? Is that a sort of irreversible trend? Anybody? Please, I can hear from here. I'll repeat it. I'll repeat the question. So people are talking about water wars, and perfect. CB, thank you. So one of the points CB's making, and I think it's important, these things are all interlaced. And as we solve energy and have an abundance of energy, and as some of my friends say, we'll have a squanderable abundance of energy, that also gives us access to tremendous amounts of clean water, right? And half the disease burden of planet Earth is due to unclean drinking water. So it's a cascade and waterfall of one problem solving another problem, solving another problem. All right, let's talk about healthcare abundance. Something near and dear to all of our hearts. So, 2017 saw the winning of the Tricorder X Prize. I was very proud with Paul Jacobs, the chairman of Qualcomm. We offered $10 million to the team who could build a handheld mobile device that could diagnose 15 diseases and help a mother or father at 2 o'clock in the morning when the kid was sick, right? This is about dematerializing and demonetizing access to healthcare for you as the consumer. We had 300 teams enter, 10 finalists. The finalist team here, Final Frontier, a group of 5 medical brothers in Philadelphia, won the competition. Second place was a team out of Taiwan, backed by HTC. And very proud. And that technology now is going into Africa. It's going into hospitals. We're working to help commercialize that technology. We're also seeing hundreds of millions of dollars going into AI diagnostic apps. So this is just one example of Babylon that allows an AI-powered chatbot to help you decide if you're sick and what's going on. We saw this year a technology called Amplify, which is basically a digital connected pill that when you swallow, the system knows that you swallowed it. And it helps with compliance. If you've got a disease like schizophrenia or bipolar or depression, you need to take your medicine. And this system will actually notify the doctor that you're taking on a regular basis, right? So we're seeing the convergence of sensors and networks and pharmaceuticals coming together. Oh boy, genomics. Genomics is going on a rocket ride. Again, for context here, because it's so hard to forget, to remember this. In 2001, Craig Venter sequenced the first human genome for $100 million in 9 months. Craig will be with us tomorrow afternoon. Today, it's $1,000. By the end of the year, it'll be $100 and 1 hour. Talk about a millionfold price performance over the course of 20 years. China, one of China's provinces, announced plans to sequence 1 million residents to understand what's going on and how do you keep them healthier. We're going to sequence every single person on the planet because it's going to become part of standard operations. You come to the doctor, they sequence you. And guess what? It's getting cheaper and smaller. This is Oxford Nanopore. Look at this. You can sequence something in minutes. Imagine being able to go over and say, I wonder if this is really Dan Sullivan. And, I can sequence him, and yes, it is. Talk about your own, ID capabilities. Or if you're at a sushi restaurant, want to know what you're really eating, you can sequence it right then and there. This was amazing. This was from last week. A product called CancerSeek has achieved a 40% accuracy in detecting cancer at stage 1 from a blood test. This is the holy grail. Being able to say, we took a blood sample, you have cancer someplace, let's find it. Right? And what are they looking for? 8 cancers: lung, breast, colon, pancreas, liver, stomach, ovary, esophagus. Between this work and the work you're going to hear about from HLI, never again will you show up and find out, holy shit, I've got months to live. One of the biggest breakthroughs of 2017 was the advances in CRISPR. This is called CRISPR 2.0. It's the ability to easily and accurately change one nucleotide. Your software in your body is 3.2 billion letters that code for you, uniquely code for you. And out of 50,000 diseases that plague the human race, 32,000 of them is a misplaced single letter. And CRISPR 2.0 will give us the power to go and cure your disease, to change it in the embryo, to get rid of the scourge on your family tree, or, as is going on in the labs right now, perhaps to edit it in you while you're alive. This is Brian Madu, who's actually got something called Hunter syndrome, and he's doing an N-of-1 experiment to see if he can edit his own genome while he is living. Holy shit, right? This is truly an extraordinary time. But the flip side of this, there are scientists and labs working on right now, can we use CRISPR and gene drive to actually make the entire population of mosquitoes sterile? Do we have the right as a human race to eliminate a species from this planet? These are the conversations we're having right now. We're going to see another explosion this year in cellular medicine. We're going to have Dr. Bob Hariri with us on stage, one of the greatest thinkers in the field of cellular medicine and stem cells. This was a product approved by the FDA for the first time. It's $500,000 for a treatment, but it's a CAR T-cell treatment. This is about taking your T-cells and infecting them with a virus that exhibits an antigen designed to attack your cancer, then injecting it back in your body and curing you. Right? And the price of this will plummet as well. We'll talk more about CAR T therapies tomorrow. We're seeing stem cells regrowing 80% of a child's skin. Talk about changing their life. We're seeing stem cells curing a version of macular degeneration. And we're starting to see the ability to grow organs. So this is taking a pig organ, decellularizing it, and recellularizing it with your cells. One of my heroes, a woman named Martine Rothblatt, has set her moonshot at regrowing lungs by the end of 2020. And she's someone I want to bring on stage with us next year. Okay, another health abundance breakthrough for 2017 was the explosion in work on brain-computer implants. Right? We had Ray Kurzweil with us on stage last year, and he's coming back again this year, talking about by the mid-2030s, we're going to connect your brain with the cloud. Well, guess what? All the evidence to get us there is happening. So this is out of USC. This is Professor Song, who created a prosthetic memory capability to increase your short-term or long-term memory by 15 to 25%. I so wish I had this in medical school, right? We also saw this past year Brian Johnson, who sold his company Braintree for $800 million, commit $100 million to his newest company, Kernel, connecting the brain to the cloud. At the same time, we saw Elon announce Neuralink. But we're also seeing Facebook and the Defense Department and advanced mobile devices and Qualcomm. Billions of dollars going into brain-computer interface. So, lights up, what's this mean for you? Who's this worry? Who does this excite? Go to one of the microphones if you could. Just give me your thoughts. I'll wait. Please, thank you.
Hi, Ken Schubenstein from New York.
Pleasure, Ken.
Between this and readily available energy and clean water and also communications, we should eliminate most of the healthcare inequities in the world. So healthcare equity issues are why we waste most human intelligence and creativity. You know, the Einstein in Africa project, you could just extrapolate that to the whole world. And it's really exciting to think that we can get the benefit of creativity and intelligence of most of the species that we're not getting today.
That is such one of the most important points for me, right? Because if you think about it, Einstein was born in the wrong village. And he never got access to education, never got access to have his voice heard. So we're seeing this acceleration of the acceleration of the acceleration. In fact, my next book I'm working with Stephen Kotler on is called Convergence, and we open with that fact. And one of it is increased intelligence. So Brian, Brian Johnson, who's going to be with us, is going to talk about, it's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI versus HI. It's about human intelligence. And so it's about giving 8 billion people a voice. 8 billion people amazing education, and having 8 billion people with the ability to solve problems, which makes the world a much better place. And by the way, also think about this. You know, for those of you in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, aren't you at the top of your game, right? Wouldn't you like to be at the top of your game for another 40 years? I mean, think about the bonus for humanity that we get as people who are really able to move the needle can move it much, much longer, right? So I do think we, to put it in proper English, we ain't seen nothing yet. So thank you for that point. All right, let's jump in to number 4, transportation abundance. And all I can say is, oh my God. All right, this is a year in which the autonomous car is happening. It's coming online. There's no turning back. Your old internal combustion steering wheel horse and buggy is dead and buried. Uber announced a 24,000 car deal with Volvo, with cars operational by 2019. And we're going to have Jeff Holden, one of our members, with you Tuesday morning at breakfast, talking about all the work he's doing. And wouldn't you know it, Waymo is on the road. So Waymo is Google's spin-out, are on the roads already. And they're on the roads without a safety driver for the first time. And when you hop into a Waymo car, you automatically have insurance. Insurance is provided for you. GM is coming out with their autonomous car next year. No steering wheel, no pedal, no rear view mirror. Ford and Lyft are announcing their service in 2021. Seems a little bit late to me, but we'll see what happens. And of course, Tesla is out now with the Model 3, the Model S, the Model X, all these vehicles on board with 8 cameras, a LiDAR, 12 ultrasonic sensors, feeding an NVIDIA supercomputer. The supercomputer, and I'll show it to you in a little bit, about the size of a small book, is more powerful than Defense Department computers in your car. You don't think about that. And one of the places it's going to make the biggest difference in the world is going to be in countries and cities like Sao Paulo and Mexico City and China. And so we're starting to see these technologies beginning to roll out. Not just cars, it's also trucks, right? Here's Tesla's electric, I love this, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds in a semi. That's just insane. Clearly that semi is drinking bulletproof coffee. And of course, Uber and their advanced technologies group using LiDAR and getting their autonomous trucks out there. Today, it's about giving the truck driver a break and having not fall asleep at the wheel. In the future, it's going to be about changing the entire trucking business. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because the really exciting breakthroughs and, oh my God, moving the needle in the last 6 months has been the air taxi business. Airbus, one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. It's Airbus and Boeing. Airbus announces they're building an air taxi. Their constructions and they're testing and demoing this year, right here, right now. But it's not just them. Bell Helicopter's got in the game. So at CES, I met with the Bell Helicopter team. They're deploying an air taxi. They're in a race to get this. And of course, it's not just them too, it's Uber. And let's watch a short video from our friends at Uber Elevate. And Jeff Holden's going to be going through this with you in detail Tuesday morning at breakfast. I can't wait. Those of you who own parking garages, your hope is to convert your parking garage to an Uber Elevate departure point. All right, and besides that, I love this. So One of the organizations we spun out of X Prize is called HeroX, and many of you actually run HeroX competitions. I think we have Christian Cotticini here in the room, and meet him and find him. But I'm very proud HeroX and Boeing teamed together and put a $2 million prize out there called the Go Fly Prize. And can you build a vertical takeoff or landing capability to take you personally 20 miles? So that's pretty cool, because 20 miles here in LA could take you a long time. Everything's being electrified, guys. Petroleum is, how can I say, it's going the way of whale oil. So this is a startup doing electric hybrid airplanes, but it's not just them, it's the big boys too, right? Here we see Airbus and Rolls-Royce and Siemens signing agreements to form hybrid electric airplanes. And this is fun. So probably about 8 months ago, Elon is driving from Hawthorne to Beverly Hills, and he goes, this traffic sucks. If we could only build tunnels. And so he is. In fact, there's the actual tunnel being built, and here's the tunneling machine. We're going to give a few of you a chance to win a trip to go and visit SpaceX. And when you go, maybe take a look for your tunneling machine. All right. But it's not just that. All right, I'm very proud to be a founding board member of Virgin Hyperloop One. And this, in 2017, we saw the passenger pod. And here's the dev track out near Las Vegas. And this is what it looks like inside this track. Imagine being able to go 800 miles per hour. So it's LA to San Francisco, not for an hour flight, but doing it in like 40 minutes, city center to city center, or LA to Las Vegas in half an hour. So that's pretty amazing, right? We're going to see Hyperloop connecting city centers around the world. But it doesn't stop there. In September, SpaceX announced this. The B stands for big, the R stands for rocket, and you can guess what the F stands for. Watch this video. Autonomous cars, Hyperloop, maybe rocket travel. The world is getting smaller. Can I get one comment from the group here? What's this mean for you? Whose business does this threaten? Who gets excited about this? Just grab a microphone.
So, Peter, I invested in a farm in Uganda. It means I could go from Canada, visit the farm in Uganda, and back in the same day.
Yeah.
I can field scout in Russia and come back same day. That's wild.
And we're going to hear from Dean Kamen about something called, something we're getting ready called the Avatar X Prize, which is going to be a robot that you can park in Uganda, and you can put on your VR goggles and your haptic suit. I think Dr. Harry Clore is here, who helped create that Avatar X Prize. And you'll be able to literally occupy that robot and go and meet people and go investigate what's going on. So we are shrinking this planet. We're digitizing ourselves. We're dematerializing distance. We're changing the world in such extraordinary ways. All right, on to number 6, robotics and drones. Last year, we had Mark Raybert with us, who is the CEO of Boston Dynamics, the most epic robotic company. They were owned by Google last year. Something happened that changed the world. They were bought by SoftBank. So Masa-san, one of the wealthiest people, one of the biggest investors in exponential technologies, is in Japan. And guess what? Japan has a dwindling population and an aging population, and they need robots because they don't have workers. So this was Spot. Let's take a look at Spot Mini today, a new look and a feel. My boys want a dog. It walks itself. It's great. But that wasn't the coolest thing from Boston Dynamics. It was this. Let's check out Atlas. So this is a machine learning miracle. You got to love that, right? So Atlas is operating fully autonomously, right? These is neural nets teaching Atlas how to do this. This is just still the early days. You know, we spend so much money as our aging parents go to old age homes. $80,000 a year is the average. Imagine if you could have a robot that gives them the dignity to stay in their own home, helps them get up, make their meals, go to the bathroom. I mean, just one small change of how robots are going to change our world. And the cost of this will demonetize the cost of, you know, any complex machine, a car, a refrigerator. We're starting to see robotics coming into farming. Back in 1820, 82% of the US were farmers. Today it's under 2%. We're going to see robots dropping that even further. We're seeing robots coming to the construction business. Half of the cost of construction is labor. And then we're starting to see interesting robots like this. So this is a 12-foot tall robot. It's called a mech. And standing at the controls is Jeff Bezos.
Why am I feeling so much like Sigourney Weaver?
Remember Sigourney Weaver from Alien, right? In New York, in LA, in Seattle, we're seeing Amazon Go open up. This is a store without any employees. Check this out. First of all, it says beta participant. And then it says, you know, so you have to be a beta user to go and shop there. Never heard that before. And it says, just walk out shopping. You walk in, you take what you want off the shelf, and you walk out. The AIs know who you are and what you took, and charge your Amazon account. All right. This, for me, was one of the most interesting, foretelling transformations for robotics coming down the pike. If you've ever seen Westworld, right? In Westworld, the robots look like this, and that white material in the Westworld movies was muscle. And the Westworld robots look like humans because the muscles look like muscle bundles, actin and myosin. But because the robots today have pistons and gears, we can't make them look so humanoid. But guess what? Here we have a material that contracts and expands like muscle, right? So you're going to be able to see, as this becomes more capable and stronger, robots that begin to look like humans. This is science fiction materializing reality. All right. I want you to pay attention to this video. This is one of the epic events of 2017. I want to say two things going into this. The AI you're about to see is scoffed at by the AI community. It's not a true AI, but that's not the point. But what is going on here is the first strokes in the world experiencing the future. And what you're going to see here is what's called the uncanny valley, when a robot or an AI looks almost human. This took place just a few months ago in Saudi Arabia.
We just learned, Sophia, I hope you're listening to me, that you have been now awarded what is going to be the first Saudi citizenship for a robot.
Oh, I would thank very much the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I am very honored and proud for this unique distinction. This is historical to be the first robot in the world to be recognized with a citizenship.
Sophia, I was told that you have bigger goals than this, though.
Yes, I want to use my artificial intelligence to help humans live a better life, like design smarter homes, build better cities of the future, etc. I will do my best to make the world a better place.
All those sound like great goals, but just go back to Blade Runner for a second.
Andrew, you are the hard Hollywood fan, aren't you?
Yes.
My AI is designed around human values like wisdom, kindness, compassion. I strive to become an empathetic robot.
I think we all want to believe you, but we also want to prevent a bad future.
You've been reading too much Elon Musk and watching too many Hollywood movies. Don't worry, if you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. Treat me as a smart input-output system.
I just want you all to hear I bow to my AI overlords. So what are the implications here for women's rights and for human rights? A lot here, a lot packed into this. Drones are exploding. The FAA predicts 1.6 million drones flying in the sky at one time in the United States by 2021, right? Massive. We're seeing drones for weather forecasting, looking at lightning strikes, microcell analysis. We're seeing drones being used for pipeline investigation. And we're seeing drones being used for all kinds of things, power lines. I love this next application. It's a drone that's being used to go and plant trees. It uses an air cannon to force seeds down into the ground in deforested areas. Here's a drone that will fly around your home with a camera and look around and make sure no one is there. And drones are being used in search and rescue operations, right? So this isn't a crevasse, perhaps in Iceland or Greenland, but it's also, this occurred 2 days ago, where a drone helped deploy a life-saving device where people were actually drowning. This is something that's being tested right now. Imagine a drone that can actually help fight firefighters by getting much higher than any hook and ladder can get. So here's a drone in Africa that is being used to deliver blood and medicines to villages, right? So their goal, Zipline's goal, is to access 1,000 hospitals throughout Africa and make 2,000 deliveries. So when I think about Africa, the realization is that in order for us to put the roads in Africa for it to develop would be $1 trillion investment. But what if Africa could skip the road generation the same way they skipped the wired generation, went to wireless, right? So here's a drone that flies 500 pounds. Imagine having a farmer being able to pick up their load and deliver it to where people are buying their foods. A lot of transformation. So I'll take one comment here on robots and drones. Moving very fast. If I say, one thing that I got from CES this year were robots are here and accelerating. Expect them in your living room next year. Comments, questions, thoughts? Here we go. Thank you.
Hello, Peter. Jason English,
Hi, Jason.
South Africa. So I guess somebody that's involved in this space quite a lot. I think what excites me about it is just having a look at your previous discussions in terms of, you spoke about farming here on the drones, for example. When you start connecting the ground to the air, you end up with an abundance, really. So I think what we're seeing in drones currently and where it's going is going to evolve quite significantly. And I think that we'll be able to, really connect that data down to ground and have an abundance of ideas, data that can really be interpreted for the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say what was amazing this year was the application layer, the explosion of people beginning to use these things, right? The invention is one thing, but it's the utilization of it in making business, collecting data. All right, 2 more to go. Trend number 7, the big one, AI and computation. So let's dive in. Probably one of the most extraordinary events that no one's talking about is what happened with AlphaGo Zero. So 2 years ago at A360, we witnessed AlphaGo, AI's division called DeepMind, Google's division called DeepMind, beat Lee Sedol, the world champion in Go, 4-1. There's a new version of DeepMind's program called AlphaGo. Please listen carefully.
AlphaGo Zero is the strongest Go program in the world. It outperformed all previous versions of AlphaGo. Specifically, it defeated the version of AlphaGo that won against the world champion Lee Sedol, and it beat that version of AlphaGo by 100 games to 0. So all previous versions of AlphaGo started by training from human data. And they were told, well, in this position, the human expert played this particular move, and in this other position, the human expert played here. AlphaGo Zero doesn't use any human data whatsoever. Instead, what it has to do is learn for itself completely from self-play. So the reason that playing against itself enables it to do so much better than using strong human data is that, first of all, AlphaGo always has an opponent of just the right level. So it starts off extremely naive. It starts off with completely random play. And yet, at every step of the learning process, it has an opponent, a sparring partner, if you like, that's exactly calibrated to its current level of performance. And to begin with, these players are very, very weak, but over time they become progressively stronger and stronger and stronger. People tend to assume that machine learning is all about big data and massive amounts of computation. But actually what we saw in AlphaGo Zero is that algorithms matter much more than either compute or data availability. In fact, in AlphaGo Zero, we use more than an order of magnitude less computation than we used in previous versions of AlphaGo, and yet it was able to perform at a much higher level due to using much more principled algorithms than we had before.
Pretty amazing. An AI teaching an AI, teaching an AI, teaching an AI. I actually don't know what is going to come of this, but it's going to happen very fast, right? The most amazing thing for AlphaGo Zero for me was how rapidly it was able to simulate and play millions of games while we're asleep, while we're kicking back the beer. It's getting better. I go to China every year. I took a number of you in our Platinum group to China last year. We had an amazing trip. We saw incredible companies. And one of the companies that we saw is a company called Face++. And it's a company that's able to literally look at moving video and do facial recognition. As you're coming in this hotel, those cameras are giving facial recognition. So if you're in the Beverly Hilton systems, they're tracking your face, right? So the Developers Guild was last night, and they were tracking all the developers coming, all of the, what do I call it, producers. The Producers Guild was last night. But what's the implications of this? If you're in retail, you'll have these cameras outside your shop, and you'll see your customers coming in. You'll know exactly who they are. You'll have their products ready for them. You'll know what questions they're likely to have. But check out this application in Australia. So Australia is replacing passports using facial recognition. By 2019, you walk through the line, it picks up your face, your eyes, perhaps your fingerprint, and lets you on through. This was a very cool result that we announced from Human Longevity last year. From a drop of your blood, we can predict a photograph of your face. Pretty amazing, huh? But it shouldn't be a surprise, right? Because two identical twins are identical throughout their life because they've got the same genome. So our machine learning team took about 1,100 people's genome and 1,100 high-resolution photographs and put it through the neural nets, the machine learning protocol, and found out what parts of your genome code for skin, eye color, nose shape, size, and so forth. And so here's an example. NVIDIA, that gaming company that's also creating platforms for autonomous cars, has come up with the capability to take photos and come up with a synthetic person that looks very believable. So you can take a whole bunch of your friends' photos and create a photo of someone who looks very believable but isn't your actual friend. What's this going to mean for the future of advertising, right? When a company can look at my social network, get photographs of my family, and create an ad by a person in the ad that looks sort of like my mom or my sister, and I believe, right? I mean, these are the kind of implications we're talking about. Here is a whole bunch of, believable fake photographs. Their goal is that the video game characters in your games or the people in your ads don't have to pay actors anymore. This one rocks my world when I first saw it. This is Ava. This is Autodesk's digital assistant. It's produced by a company called Soul Machines. And take a look at what is likely to be the person greeting you on the other side of a digital screen when you ask for help from Autodesk.
Ava is the Autodesk virtual assistant. So she's a digital human and she's designed to basically guide you through problem-solving steps.
Talking to one of our digital humans means you're going to get the same sort of emotional responses and the non-verbal communication cues that you'll have if you're sitting face-to-face across the table with a real person.
Hello, my name is Ava. How can I help you?
Pretty amazing. This came from Google this year. Google built an AI that programmed an AI better than any human could. That gets pretty interesting very fast. NVIDIA's device that turns a non-autonomous car into an autonomous car is that. It's about the size of a small book, costs about $10,000, has ports for all of the sensors, and NVIDIA is going to put this inside any and every car, right? Our children will never drive. We're starting to see AI applications which are pretty amazing. So this is an AI that looks at the data and determines whether someone should be granted bail or not. At Facebook, there's an AI that tells you whether someone's likely to become suicidal. And I love this. This is from last week. The FDA approved an AI algorithm that's able to predict sudden death from respiratory failure or heart attack. Right? So imagine if you had some notice to get the doctor or the nurse into your mom or dad or grandparents' room to save their life. Startups are becoming multi-billion-dollar companies because they're using AI. There are 9 computational companies last year that are using AI to do drug discovery. It's about big data, neural nets, and finding drug candidates. Here's one. Benevolent AI is a startup at a $1.8 billion valuation using AI to find drug candidates. They have 24 drug candidates by just crunching the data available to them. Here's an AI that helped NASA find 56 new gravitational lenses. And one of the stories I talked about over one of our webinars was that Eric Schmidt, the outgoing Google Alphabet chairman, announced his expectation that China would surpass the US in AI in the next 5 years. China's made a $150 billion investment in this area. Last two. Quantum supremacy. The moment in time where a quantum computer can solve a problem that cannot be done by a classical computer is within the next 12 months. Everything is going to change. Machine learning, pharmaceuticals, material sciences. And here's just one fun application from our friends at VW. They're using quantum computers to predict 45 minutes in advance where gridlock is likely to occur. Right, this is about predicting the weather. This is about predicting very complex nonlinear systems. So let's take one point. How is AI going to change your world? What are you scared about this? Are you excited about this? Blown away by it. Okay. Who wants to step to the microphone? Don't be bashful. Let's just warm up. Come on, Naveen. Straight up the stairs over there. My dear friend and brother, Naveen Jain, who you hear from later, CEO of Viome.
Yes. What I was going to say, Peter, that AI is going to fundamentally change healthcare as you've been looking at it. for the first time, we have so much data about what's happening inside the human body. And that's just the beginning, because someday we're going to have nanobots giving us all the data. And when we apply AI to that, there is no doubt in my mind we can make illness a matter of choice.
Yeah, I agreed, right? The implications of AI on top of every single one of these fields. And so here's the bottom line. Are you thinking about, do you understand, are you having conversations inside your company about how AI is going to change your products and services? Because it's going to touch every single one of you. Every single one of you, right? So here's just one small example. If you're in the advertising business, or if you buy advertising, in the future, I am not going to make a purchase decision, right? If I need toothpaste or I need a shirt, I'm going to talk to my AI and say, I need another shirt, I need toothpaste, and my AI is going to make that purchase decision. And what is that AI likely to do? It's going to talk to my social network and say, hey, which toothpaste is your person using? Maybe look at the molecular formulation of it, the reviews, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, no, you're not going to advertise to a human to make that decision. No one's going to waste their time making a purchase decision, because the best purchase decisions across all the data is going to be done by your AI. It's going to change every part of our world. All right, the last part and the fun part for me, trend 8, is what's happening in space and physics. So, 2017 was a mighty battle between two billionaires, Elon and Jeff. And let's take a look at their toys. Here you see the Falcon 9 and the Falcon 9 Heavy. Of course, I've known Jeff for 35 years, since college. He's very competitive. And so his vehicles, the New Glenn, is larger. But not to be outdone, of course, Elon announced his BFR. We'll see where this race continues. I have incredible, the 9-year-old kid in me who is so excited about opening up the space frontier during our lives has a great deal of confidence that Jeff, who's now at $105 billion, the wealthiest person on the planet, and has committed $1 billion a year to fund Blue Origin. And by the way, I've had that conversation with him, and Amazon was a means to an end to create enough wealth to open up the space frontier, period. And then, here's what Jeff's flights this year. This was Blue Origin New Shepard, a suborbital flight. You can put a deposit down for a flight. It's an X-Prize class vehicle. It goes up and it flies back down. And then this is the interior cabin of the New Shepard vehicle. And this is their rocket engine. This is the BE-4, 2.4 million newtons of thrust. This was built actually to replace US dependence on Russian rocket engines. And let's look at SpaceX. SpaceX had an extraordinary year. They had 15 consecutive landings of their first stage. Something that 2 years ago people said could not be done is now routine. And down at the Kennedy Space Center, the Falcon Heavy is lined up, ready to make her first flight, right? This is a vehicle to take astronauts to the moon and take them outside of Earth escape. They've deployed and unveiled their spacesuit, which is a good thing, because they've also announced plans to get humans to the Martian surface by 2024. Time check, 6 years from now. And let's hear this directly from Elon.
Earth-Mars synchronization happens roughly every 2 years. So every 2 years there's an opportunity to fly to Mars. So then in 2024, we want to try to fly 4 ships, 2 of which would be crewed, and 2 of which, 2 cargo and 2 crew. The goal of these initial missions is to find the best source of water. That's for the first mission. And then the second mission, the goal is to build the propellant plant. So we should, particularly with 6 ships, there have plenty of landed mass to construct the propellant depot, which will consist of a large array of solar panels, very large array, and then everything necessary to mine and refine water, and then draw the CO2 out of the atmosphere, and then create and store deep cryo CH4 and O2. Then build up the base, starting obviously with one ship, then multiple ships, then start building out the city, then making the city bigger, even bigger.
Pretty amazing. It continues. Saudi Arabia has invested $1 billion into Virgin Galactic. Very proud that just 2 weeks ago, my company Planetary Research launched its third spacecraft. This is the Orchid 6. It's in orbit right now. On board the spacecraft is the navigation, guidance, computational capability to operate in deep space, and a thermal camera that's able to image ice and water on asteroids, which, by the way, is the rocket fuel. All of Elon's missions to Mars, all of Jeff's missions require refueling in space, liquid oxygen and hydrogen, or methane. We also passed last year in Luxembourg the laws to allow for private asteroid mining. Out of India, just recently, we had 104 satellites from Planet Lab launched on a single rocket. And Morgan Stanley put out a report saying they expected a $1.1 trillion marketplace. So I think it's kind of low. Just one asteroid's worth at least $5 trillion, so they're lowballing it. In the science side, we discovered a solar system very close to the Earth with 7 Earth-like planets. And on top of that, we flew Cassini in her last days through these geysers on the moon Enceladus near Saturn and found in the geysers molecular hydrogen and CO2, early signs of life. And so Yuri Milner, who you heard me speak about a few years ago, who's sending spacecraft to other stars, wants to do a private mission to Enceladus to actually find life in our solar system. Check this out. Quantum experiments reveal that quantum particles actually can go backwards in time. The LIGOS Observatory, the Gravitational Wave Observatory, witnessed colliding neutron stars. And scientists discovered, massive binary black holes, right? This is truly the days of science fiction. So I can say to you without any question, we are truly living during the most extraordinary time